дебату. І я прошу шановних спікерів до слова.
Так, добрий день.
Good afternoon, esteemed friends. We would like to say a couple of words on how the process of discussion of the changes taking place are taking place. The government has submitted some initiatives on the change of the pension system, and the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on Thursday they will be discussing this issue in the parliament, and we would like to again address the MPs of Ukraine. First of all, the representatives of coalition, requesting to concentrate all their efforts and vote in the first reading for the 4 draft laws which introduce amendments to the current pension legislation, which give some prospects to the future categories of pensioners to receive normal pensions, and gradually Ukraine can move to European, to the global system of uniting pay-as-you-go system with the different systems. The main tasks of pension reform is reduce the burden on solidarity part, the forming of individual accumulations, personification of pension accounting. Now the ideology of pension, future of pension system will be every person will be involved into forming the pension future. We strengthen the responsibility of every person for the future pension. All the future will be formed by the person individually. Second, but powerful investment resource. The best practices mean that the money of accumulation system are invested into the economy of the country. I would like to give you some data that the resource of accumulation system of Poland is about 70 billion euros. That is huge internal resource which does not allow, even in the period of crisis, does not allow the economy of the country to fall. And such investment money will stabilize Ukrainian economy and will develop Ukrainian economy. The reform of the pension system provides for such things. First, all the pensions, the system of special pensions will be cancelled. From the 1st of January 2016, we suggest to cancel all special laws as to appointing the pension on special privileged terms. That is, first of all, about pension for the civil servants, for the members of parliament, ministers, judges. We need to stop dividing Ukrainians into sorts of pensioners. There will be no VIP pensioners and regular pensioners. All pensions will be done in accordance to one formula. That is the position of principle that the government will be insisting on. Second is introducing a cumulative system of pensions We understand that introducing a cumulative system may happen only at the stage when the economy is growing, when salaries are growing, only when there is an additional resource for such additional contributions. That is why we suggest that this system should be launched from the 1st of January 2016. The accumulative system will provide for mandatory contribution, mandatory accumulative system for people who are younger than 35, people who are 35 or older till 55 will participate in a cumulative system on voluntary basis. The category from 35 years and above will independently make decision whether they need any additional pension, any additional payments. The second, the rate will be from 2% in 2017 to 20% in 2019. I especially emphasize that the regular rate of social single contribution will not be increased. The burden on the salary will not, there will be no burden, additional burden on salary. First year we will cover 6 million of participants and the resource of 5 billion hryvnia. Second year will give another 6 million participants plus 8 billion hryvnias. This way we will have by 1919 9 billion hryvnias additional, and this will be money which Ukrainian economy will receive when it is growing. Special attention, because now there are many discussions going on in mass media. The special attention is paid to the mechanism of managing the pension system. This should be the main principle. The state will control and provide for the safety of this cumulative system. We will provide the state guarantees against possible risks. And the state will create the pension fund and the Council of a Cumulative Fund on an open, transparent competition will define companies which will be managing this money of a cumulative system, and the state will control investment activities of such companies on asset management. These are main principles. I would like to say that we had several meetings with some of the MPs of Ukraine. Yesterday we had the meeting with the Poroshenko faction, and then we will have meeting with other factions and coalitions. But we hope that Ukrainian parliament will start the pension system. Though I would like to say that the pressure not to approve this draft is huge. The reason for this pressure is clear. Many people, despite their public support, do everything to block cancelling the system of VIP pensions, to the MPs, prosecutors, and not to allow approval of that law. And so publicly, no one wants to say that. They are looking for some gaps, but I would like to mention this is the European principle, the cumulative system. We are not inventing anything new. We take the European principle of building the system. And the government is executing coalition agreement. And the coalition agreement clearly states that coalition will be approving the law on introducing a cumulative system of the support non-state pension insurance, development of non-pension insurance, and also I do not see how the government has come up with the proposals, but that is why the consideration of the draft law in the sectoral committee shows that there's a big opposition to cancelling VIP pensions, but we will be insisting that the law is approved in the first reading. We are ready to pass that draft as a total. We are ready to work in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, but the compromise as to cancelling the system of special pension will not be given. The principle of there should be a single principle of pension allocation, irrespective of who you are: tractor driver, magician, teacher, minister, prosecutor, or judge. This should be the only principle of pension allocation. And so we would like to emphasize again all the MPs, and there are more than 300 MPs who approved this law. We did the agreement. On the one hand, we canceled the system. We want to cancel the system of special pensions, but on the other hand, we want to start a new system so that Ukrainians can get pensions from three resources: pay-as-you-go, accumulative, and non-state pension funds, but not from one source. Oleksiy Borisovich will say something else, probably. Good afternoon, esteemed representatives of mass media. I will add to what Mr. Rozenko said. I would like to say a few words about what approval of that draft will give us. Talking in general, this draft law addresses many problems of our pension system, which were accumulated for many years, but we did not do anything to address them. The main ones are talking about pay-as-you-go system. That is the cleaning of pension fund from the payments which are made at the expense of pension fund. Our privileges, it's like the reducing the number of years needed to appoint pensions, or some higher pensions. This is almost every fourth pensioner, that every fourth pensioner has. And all these payments are made at the expense of other pensioners. And that's the reason of the deficit of pension fund. And the first problem that the draft law addresses is cleaning the pay-as-you-go system from non-appropriate payments. And the next step to create opportunities to increase the pensions. Unfortunately, almost half of pensions today have the same amount. Another issue addressed by the draft law is stimulating and legalization of salary. Legalization of salary is the main source that may help us financially balance and develop our pension system. Up to 200 billion hryvnias of salaries are paid in shadow now, which means that more than 60 billion hryvnias is what the pension fund does not receive every year. This happens because people are not interested in legally paying contributions to pension fund, because such contributions are not owned by them, and introducing the cumulative system, introducing the institute of ownership and the transparency of accumulation creates stimuli for paying legal salaries and for filling in both systems. And also what we will additionally get. If now a person receives about 45% of the salary that the person was receiving before pension, then people in the future will be getting more than 60% of their average salary. But if we take into account that introducing of the second level of mandatory accumulations will stimulate the development of the third level, this percentage, what people will receive when at the pension age could be much higher. And also I would like to say that there are many discussions about how the new pension system should work. The level which is accumulative, that is natural, that is normal, and these discussions are to be done as part of the discussion suggested by the law. But we now need to approve the law, the draft in the first reading, so that in the second reading we can develop all the process, all the proposals, and have a new, powerful, financially strong pension system. Урядовий кур'єр. Could you please tell Mr. Rozenko, now in the internet there's people are saying that Ukrainians are demanding indexation of salaries and pensions before December because the food products are getting more expensive. Is that realistic or not? As of today, in the state budget of Ukraine, we provide for indexation of salaries from the 1st of December 2015. Naturally, the indexation of salaries may take place only if there is an additional resource in place. To spend something, we need to have the resource. Today, we cannot say that we have enough resources to do indexation of salaries and pensions from now. But we are following carefully the process of filling in the state budget of Ukraine. And I can tell you that we stated several times, and the government has a very clear position. If we have at least some minimum possibility to index the salaries and pensions before, we will do that. There are many It depends on many factors. It depends on whether we will have good negotiations on restructuring debts, whether we will be able to get a resource which we can whether this resource will be freed. Today, the Ministry of Defense requests the government to allocate additional 8 billion hryvnias to strengthen the defense capacity of the country. They do not have enough money for repair of the equipment of armaments and for food supplies. And that is what the government will be thinking about, where to find money for that. And we are mostly interested in increase of salaries and pensions in Ukraine. As soon as we have additional resource for that, we will use it. And the money which the state budget of Ukraine receives additionally will go to strengthen the social protection of the population. Basically, fighting with grey salaries is connected to tax reform and introduction of the accumulative system is also related to that. Do you also are you participating in reforming of the social contribution? The tax reform is impossible without the pension fund and the Ministry of Social Policy. We understand that we need to find balance between the interests of the state and those people who are creating jobs, those who pay single social contribution. The problem of grey salaries is not resolved only by the rate of contribution. What is important is to reform the judicial system, because the judicial system is the basis for leadership, and the government and the coalition are working on that. For us, it is the matter of principle. Talking about this draft law to introduce the principle itself, we are saying that three-level pension system is the basis for improvement of the situation of pensioners, the next generation of pensioners, and we are talking about necessity of tax reform, but at the same time this is not alternative to the pension reform suggested by the government. Thank you. Do you have time to answer more questions? Ilya Lukash, 2 questions. Will there be an opportunity for people who agree to a cumulative system to write some, I don't know, application? I want to just use the cumulative system, or maybe the fund which will be distributing money, maybe this fund will become another source of corruption. There will be two different levels for which the person will not be able to refuse the contributions to pay-as-you-go system and funded pension system. That is people who are younger than 35. This is the principle that is discussed for long. But the level of that is related to our mentality. We believe that the state has to take care of us, and we understand that when we refuse to pay contributions to funded pension system or pay-as-you-go system, will lead to the situation when the person will not be receiving the pension. These are things interrelated. If you do not pay any contribution, you do not receive pension. On the other hand, when there is an understanding that you will not receive the pension, such understanding comes late when the person retires and cannot support himself or herself, cannot work, and cannot catch up with youth. Maybe that is a long-term perspective. Maybe we will educate the next generations and they will understand it, but there's no alternative to pay-as-you-go system today. That's objective. Also, the legislative base is very strong. There are two state commissions which follow attentively where money is invested, and there is a clear prohibition to use that money of non-state pension fund of the funded pension system in risky operations. You may be paid attention that the non-state pension funds have been in place during the last 12 years. That's nothing new, and in the last 12 years we have not seen any big scandals related to some financial problems. Basically, there is a very strict control over these funds, and that is a normal economic mechanism. The funded pension system will be formed. The state will take all the responsibility for the control over use of the money and will not allow any fraudulent schemes, plus transparent competition, attracting companies that have experience, that are known, that value their reputation. This will help
Людьми, які мають
to really do that all properly. Two questions. What's the deficit of pension fund and the taxes on pensions? What's happened? And the second question to the minister. As to the deficit of pension fund, there were changes introduced. The deficit is 15.1 billion hryvnias, and the total resource from the state budget to pension fund is more than 76 billion hryvnias. And how much did you get from the taxes on pensions? The taxes on pensions are paid to the state budget. As to pension fund, I can say that in the beginning of the year, the deficit was planned to be at the level of 19 billion hryvnias. Now it's 15.1 billion hryvnias. And the question to the minister. Many servicemen who were fighting as volunteers, they are now left without housing. And local authorities are waiting for subventions to provide housing for them. When will you give these subventions to the local authorities so that they provide housing to these servicemen who are wounded very often? There are two state programs according to which such families will get housing. First of all, these are more than 60 million hryvnias allocated to provide housing for families of those who were killed. Second thing, there is a subvention at the level of 30 million, and it was allocated by the latest amendments to the state budget of Ukraine. That is the unique program for Ukraine, and the Cabinet of Ministers has to approve the procedure for use of that money. The ministry today has finished looking at or forming or writing this procedure, so that is approved by all the central authorities. This procedure has been approved by the governmental committee, and I hope that at this meeting, sitting of the Cabinet of Ministers on next one, the procedure for use of this money will be approved. The money will not be distributed by the ministry. We will channel that to regions, and regions will execute the program of providing housing to participants of ATO. And they will be responsible for the execution of the state programs. This money was allocated not in the state budget that was passed in December, but by the latest changes. Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the head of the pension fund, and we hope that on Thursday the reform that we've been waiting for the last 20 years will start.